All right, good morning, everybody. You guys dropped some fire in the comments section yesterday, so we'll be reading a few of those and connecting them to the Lesser Key of Solomon. I continued reading this yesterday, and it goes on to answer a lot of the questions that we were mentioning. So, if you recall, the legend states that Solomon had contact with 72 spirits, particularly 72 evil spirits. He learned from them, and he mastered the intelligence and the information that these spirits gave to him. And he perfected the way of summoning the spirits, right? And that's what we see in the beginning of this book are these sigils, shapes, representations of sound, we think, that are all intended to invocate these spirits. And then we're going to read this, and it's going to describe each of the 72 spirits. The legend goes on to state Solomon, after, creating his empire, creating all the trade, all the industry, and the perfect forced labor, and having, 1,000 women, he trapped all of these evil spirits in a vessel and then created the ultimate seal to close it. So the Seal of Solomon. The Seal of Solomon holds these 72 evil spirits in the vessel. We're going to read about them. There's going to be familiar names of demons that you know, and it's going to specifically say that these are the cohort of Lucifer. This is pretty crazy. So we'll get to that. And we need to think of this as in technology, right? Advanced technology. We need to get rid of that thought that people in the past were stupid. That needs to go. That's gone. Done. So 72, of course, is a very important number. It takes about 72 years to move 1 degree in a zodiac, the 360-degree circle that the zodiac makes, right? 72 virgins is what's awarded to the Muslim after death. And 72 stars, I'll show you this real quick. There are 72 pentagrams surrounding the Apotheosis of Washington, which is in the rotunda of the Capitol building, in the dome, right? And this depicts, of course, Washington becoming a god. But we got to remember, 72. 72. How did Solomon obtain all of his worldly goods and all of his power? Through these 72 spirits. So the apotheosis of Washington is representing Washington mastering the lost key of Solomon and obtaining the full spectrum of intelligence from these 72 spirits, in my opinion. Also on the dollar bill, there are 72 bricks on the reverse side of the seal, right? And we've learned about this seal in the early 1900s, a mystic seal in the Order of the Rose Cross convocation. We've read it in the 1971 Cookbook for a Sacred Life, which is a Eastern mysticism Lama publication about yoga and stuff. So all the occult schools share their symbol. There are 72 bricks below the illumined eye, or the eye of Lucifer, the eye of providence, right? Representing ultimately apotheosis, man becoming God. So underneath the eye, these 72 schools, 72 demons, are what's required for man to reach godhood. Pretty wild. The number 72, check this out, 66 plus 6 equals 72. 6 plus 6 equals 12 times 6 equals 72. 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 18 times 4 equals 72. Now you're starting to see that the number of the beast is really much more complex than just an identifying numerical symbol, right? The number 6 relates in many ways to the number 72, which is very interesting. And there's a lot more ways you can compare 6 to 72. Okay, let me show you what else we're looking at. Reverse seal, comments. Now, knowing that Solomon mastered these 72 seals, and we're going to read what all of these are about. And remember, think technology. We have this question of the megaliths, and I don't talk about the megaliths enough. I need to. But all over the world are mysterious, unexplainable physical structures that predate all written history. And their construction is flawless, and it's beyond anything we could even do today. That's not an exaggeration. For example, this woman is standing on a newly discovered stone in the quarry of the Temple of Baalbek in Lebanon. And this is right where the Bible takes place, right? This stone above her is called the Stone of the Pregnant Woman. It's been exposed for a long time, and for centuries people were standing on this, not knowing they were standing on an even bigger stone. The pregnant woman is 1,200 tons. This one is roughly 1,600 tons, they think. And you might be thinking, hey, these could just be carved and not moved. But the truth is, they are moved. And this is about a mile away from the temple. We're going to go over the layout of the temple. But this is called the Trilateral, and you can actually see a gentleman standing on a wall right here. Above his head are, what are they called? Spacer. I don't know what architects call these support blocks. These are about 400 tons apiece. These ones above them, the Trilateral, are about 800 tons apiece. There's a foundation running around the temple. The oldest part of this whole place is a U-shaped foundation made up of all of these megalithic blocks. You can see this guy standing in front of one. If we look at this blueprint here, we'll be talking about where my mouse is. You can follow the little circle around it. The Trilateral, the three massive 800-ton ones we just saw. And then it comes over here. Now, the Romans were the first, or I guess pre-Roman maybe, people of the Roman descent were the first ones to build a temple here. And they specifically built their temple around this foundation. They did not incorporate the foundation. No. They built it around this foundation, as in venerating it somehow, right? Not desecrating it. And here's an example of another massive stone in the quarry, and you can see the civilizations we know from history actually quarried the stones out of these giant stones that were built who knows when, right? So this is a lot of mystery. Was this the Nephilim? Was this the giants? Was it the giants and Solomon? Did Solomon learn how to manipulate the properties of nature? Could he cut these massive stones? Is this knowledge what was used in Peru? What was used in Egypt? What was used all over the world? Japan? Did Solomon globalize the world? Was he building his temples using these secret intelligence, this secret intelligence? Look at the size of the guy on this. This is from Romans. Because of the style, people know the way it's been quarried. The Romans were quarrying this stone, which was quarried by who knows. But I'm starting to think it could be Solomon, and once we read these 72 demons, they're going to specifically talk about all of these industrial, mechanical, spiritual, intellectual arts, and where they all come from. Wow. So here's an example of Roman architecture, where the bricks are manageable. They're much smaller. The columns are drums stacked on one another, right? And here's an example of the foundation, once again, the megalithic prehistory. So, when the Bible talks about giants, you better believe it. Look, they fit a whole tour on this one stone. How crazy is that? Here's a drawing of the stones on the bottom, the spacers, 400 tons, and then the Trilateral above it. Fascinating. Let me show you another example from Egypt. Hold on. I've shown you this one before, but it gives us a great example of evidence of how they might have been removing this granite. It's always hard stone too. It's always extremely hard stone that's magnetic and has a high crystal count. Okay, so this is at the unfinished obelisk in Aswan. Here's a big picture. You see those people in the back, those specks? A true obelisk is one stone. And there's 9 of them outside of Egypt, I think, all across the world. Central Park, New York, London, Paris, the Vatican. And it's because the Synagogue of Satan all over the world is venerating what I think is probably ancient intelligence, ancient technology from these angels involved in cutting this, right? This one's 1,200 tons. It was left in the quarry. So whatever ended this time, maybe the flood, who knows, whatever ended this period of history where they were able to do this, all over the world it seems to have happened quickly because there's unfinished megalithic structures in quarries all over the world. Even Easter Island, the biggest moai is still in the quarry. Those, the heads on Easter Island, they have full bodies. They're 70 feet tall. And they've been buried by natural sediment. Think about that. They've been buried up to their necks. they've only been dug down a few times because the Rapa Nui, the people of Easter Island, hold them sacred and they don't want to dig them down, but they are full bodies, one stone. And the sediment has piled up that high. Let's see. But I want to show you, look, it looks like they were scooping ice cream, doesn't it? It looks like somehow they were manipulating granite. And like yesterday, we talked all about sound, resonance, frequency, and its ability to manipulate creation, to manipulate form. And this is undeniable that the unfinished obelisk in Aswan, it looks like they were scooping granite, one of the hardest stones. They were scooping granite like warm butter. And look how small this little dugout is. Look up Brian Forrester. He's a good historian, archaeologist that covers all this. Where my mouse is, you can't even swing your arm in there. And the Egyptologists say they used balls of a harder stone and just smacked it. This is ridiculous, dude. And we'll talk about Akhenaten as well from ancient Egypt. He was from 1353 to 1336 he reigned. There's some dispute about the date, but this is like 400 or 500 years before Solomon. And Akhenaten, brought back the worship of the sun. He brought back monotheism to Egypt, so he's going to come into this as well. And of course, we'll talk about Crowley, which you guys wrote in the comments. This is all connected, and we're going to start by reading the names and description of these 72 spirits. Let me see if I'm forgetting anything. Oh, I was thinking more about the name Solomon. What is Mon? One. Monday, the first day. Mon, mono, one. Solo, what we read in the 1886 dictionary. It's a sound through the air or through an instrument, right? So solo, mon, the one sound, the one word, the true word, the lost word of Freemasonry. God's word. What little bit of God's word these people are holding on to and think that they can achieve eternal life with. Boom. I think we figured that out. I think that's it. I think that's Freemasonry. It took like a little over a year, but we figured it out. Okay, so this part's called the Shemham Farash, and these are the descriptions of the 72 spirits that Solomon gained his wisdom from, his power from, and eventually sealed in a vessel with his seal. Before we read it, let's just look at the images again. Remember, we talked about frequency, sound, resonance, and if you recall Michael Tellinger saying, shapes themselves, the light bouncing and going into your eyes, light itself creates a resonance of frequency. So shapes are affecting you just like sound affects you. Think of how sound can affect you. It can affect you with the millimeter technology, like the microwave gun. Sound can affect you by blowing your eardrums out. Sound can be beautiful. It can heal you. And when you look at symbols, when you look at images, a sound frequency is surrounding you. It's there. It's physical. It's real. You can't hear it. But light itself, therefore shapes, create frequencies. And we watched that video where Eric Raskin shows us the frequency of certain shapes and how the geometric shapes we all learn about create perfect harmony. It's mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. So there is a science here. There is a real science here. And this looks like a combination of cymatics and what Tellinger was talking about with the symbols and their related frequencies. And through what we read yesterday, remember there were like 5 parts to this. There was sight, sound, fragrance, taste, I think. And of course, Crowley would add in sex. Very bizarre, right? But these shapes give off sound. Okay, let's go back to the 72 demons. Look at the first one, Baal. And that's why Baalbek is called Baalbek. It's Baalbek. Baal. B-A-E-L. The first principal spirit is a king ruling in the east called Baal. He maketh thee go to invisible. Baal can make you invisible. That's one of his powers. He ruleth over 66 legions of infernal spirits. Remember 66. 66 plus 6 is 72. right? 6 plus 6 is 12, times 6 is 72. 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18. 18 times 4 is 72. He appeareth in divers shapes, sometimes like a cat, sometimes like a toad, and sometimes like a man, and sometimes all these forms at once. He speaketh hoarsely. This is his character, which is used to be worn as a lamen before him who calleth him forth, or else he do nothing to thee homage. So invisibility. And a continuing theme in all of these demons is that they're going to appear as monsters, typically, or animals, or some other form of spirit to the magician. And the reason they put these shapes on the ground and use all these sigils, shapes, and chants and invocations is to get the spirit into a body. That's what the Hollywood movies don't show you, is that there's a golem, there's a broken, soulless human. And when they summon and invoke these demons, the goal is to get the demon to take the shape of man, as they call it, so that the person becomes demonically possessed. Yes, these demons are real. The Exorcist, right? This is what exorcism is all about. 2. Agares. The second spirit is a duke called Agares or Agrias. He is under the power of the East, and who worships the East? Masons. He is under the power of the East and cometh up in the form of an old fair man, riding upon a crocodile, carrying a goshawk upon his fist, and yet mild in appearance. He maketh them to run that stand still, and bringeth back runaways. He teaches all languages or tongues presently. He hath power also to destroy dignities, both spiritual and temporal, and causeth earthquakes. He was of the order of virtues. He hath under his government 31 legions of spirits. And this is his seal or character, which thou shalt wear as a layman before thee. So these different spirits are invoked for different reasons, right? So if these powers that be need to take down a spiritual movement, need to take down a great awakening, I'd imagine they might invoke number 2. Number 3, Vasago. The third spirit is a mighty prince, being of the same nature as Agares. He is called Vasago. The spirit is of good nature, and his office is to declare things past and to come, and to discover all things hid or lost. And he governeth 26 legions of spirits, and this is his seal. Number 4 is Samagina or Gamagen. The fourth spirit is Samagina or Gamagen, a great marquis. He appeareth in the form of a little horse or ass, and then into human shape doth he change himself at the request of the master. This is what I was explaining. So to the magician, or to the priest of the synagogue of Satan, this demon will appear as an animal, and it's into the soulless human, the golem, that the magician or the priest is trying to get the demon to go. He speaketh with a hoarse voice. He ruleth over 30 legions of inferiors. He teaches all liberal sciences, and giveth account of dead souls that died in sin. And his seal is this, which is to be worn before the magician when he is invocator, etc. So, he teaches all liberal sciences. Number 5. The fifth spirit is Marbas. He is a great president, and appeareth at first in the form of a great lion, but afterwards, at the request of the master, he putteth on human shape. He answereth truly of things hidden or secret. He causeth diseases and cureth them. Wow. A great president. What is Donald Trump's Patriot Party symbol? Does anybody know? It happens to be the Great Lion. And what has happened under Mr. T? He hath causeth a disease, and now is going to cureth the disease. Can't make this stuff up, guys. Let me show you that real quick. You cannot make this stuff up. Unbelievable, dude. Unbelievable. MAGA. MAGA is the fifth and highest degree of the Satanic Temple. M-A-G-A. And look at this. Trump's idea for the political party, the Patriot Party, is the Great Lion. You cannot make it up. Let's read that one more time. Marbas. The fifth spirit is Marbas. He is a great president, and appeareth at first in the form of a great lion, but afterwards, at the request of the master, he putteth on the human shape, Mr. T. He answereth truly of things hidden or secret. What is Trump's talking about his whole 4 years, and especially at the end, declassifying, declass. Made this whole story up about, this basically exposed a lot of truth and a lot of probably lies. He causeth diseases and cureth them. Mr. T's VAX. Again, he giveth great wisdom and knowledge in mechanical arts, and can change men into other shapes. He governeth 36 legions of spirits, and his seal is this, which is to be worn, as aforesaid. I don't even want to count the stars on one of these, but I would not be surprised. Number 6, Valifor. The sixth spirit is Valifor. He is a mighty duke, and appeareth in the shape of a lion, with an ass's head bellowing. He is a good familiar, but tempteth them. He is a familiar of to steal. He governeth 10 legions of spirits. His seal is this, which is to be worn, whether thou wilt have him a familiar or not. So, stealing. Okay. 7, Amen. The seventh spirit is Amen. He is a marquis, great in power and most stern. He appeareth like a wolf with a serpent's tail, vomiting out of his mouth flames of fire. But at the command of the magician he putteth on the shape of a man with dog's teeth, beset in a head like a raven, or else like a man with a raven's head simply. He telleth all things past and to come. He procureth feuds and reconcileth controversies between friends. He governeth 40 legions of spirits. His seal is this, which is to be worn, as aforesaid. This is an interesting one, because Akhenaten, when he changed ancient Egypt during his rule from being pantheistic, having the pantheon, to worshipping one god, the sun god, Amun-Ra. It's spelt many ways, Amon-Ra, Amum-Ra, Amun-Ra. And then when we look at number 7, it's Amen. And Amen, the sun god, or Horus, what kind of head does he have? It's a bird's head. I wouldn't call it a raven, right? But pretty similar connection. Okay. Number 8, Barbados. The 8th spirit is Barbados. He is a great duke, and appeareth when the sun is in Sagittary, with 4 noble kings in their companies of great troops. So these are all being called marquises, presidents, dukes, earls, and literally the people in power who get into those positions need to be controlled by these demons to be in those positions. It's crazy, right? But that's how their completely controlling evil network is formed with the 72. Wow. So this guy appeareth when the sun is in Sagittary, with 4 noble kings and their companies of great troops. He giveth understanding of the singing of birds, and of the voices of other creatures, such as the barking of dogs. He breaketh the hidden treasures open, that have been laid by the enchantments of magicians. He is of the order of virtues, of which some part he retaineth still. And he knoweth all things past and to come, and conciliateth friends and those that be in power. He ruleth over 30 legions of spirits. His seal of obedience is this, that which wear before thee, as aforesaid. Interesting. Number 9, Paimon. The 9th spirit in this order is Paimon, a great king and very obedient unto Lucifer. There's the first drop, right? Paimon, the 9th spirit, is this order. In this order is Paimon, a great king and very obedient unto Lucifer. He appeareth in the form of a man, sitting upon a dromedary, with a crown most glorious upon his head. There goeth before him also a host of spirits, like men with trumpets and well-sounding cymbals, and all other sorts of musical instruments. He hath a great voice, and roareth at his first coming, and his speech is such that the magician cannot well understand, unless he can compel him. The spirit can teach all arts and sciences and other secret things. He can discover unto thee what the earth is, and what holdeth it up in the waters, and what mind is, and where it is, or any other thing thou mayest desire to know. He giveth dignity and confirmeth the same. He bindeth or maketh any man subject unto the magician if he so desire it. Oh my goodness. He giveth good familiars, and such as can teach all arts. He is to be observed toward the west. He is of the order of dominations. He hath under him 200 legions of spirits, and part of them are of the order of angels, and the other part the potentates. Now if thou callest this spirit Pyman alone, thou must make him some offering. And there will attend him 2 kings called Label and Abelim, and also other spirits, who be of the order of potentates, in his host, and 25 legions. And those spirits which be subject unto them are not always with them, unless the magician do compel them. His character is this, which must be worn as a layman before thee, etc. Couple things. Of course, we're referencing Lucifer. Number 9, Pyman is very obedient unto Lucifer. He can teach all arts and sciences, right? He can discover unto thee what the earth is, right? Sciences, what the earth is. Lost ancient high technology. And then, check this out too. He bindeth or maketh any man subject unto the magician if he so desire it. This is how Solomon had his perfect forced labor, right? Unbelievable. Very obedient unto Lucifer. This is crazy. Number 10. Actually, let's pull up a better megalith picture for any naysayers out there. Look at this one. Look at this. These are literally perfectly melted together somehow. No one can explain that. Absolutely nobody. And this is in Peru. This is in Cusco, Peru, and it's all over Peru. Incredible. You wouldn't even believe it. This is just one of the styles. Sometimes they're perfect squares that you can't fit a piece of hair in between the stones. No mortar, no concrete. Some of these, one of them has like 12 sides. Hold on, let me show you. It has like 12 sides and 36 angles. And you can't fit a piece of hair between any of these. This is the 72 demons. Number 10, Buer. The 10th spirit is Buer, a great president. He appeareth in Sagittary, and that is his shape when the sun is there. He teaches philosophy both moral and natural, and the logic art, and also the virtues of all herbs and plants. He healeth all distempers in man, and giveth good familiars. He governeth 50 legions of spirits, and his character of obedience is this, which thou must wear when thou callest him forth unto appearance. So more fallen angel intelligence, right? Roots and herbs and stuff. Think about it. One of the greatest mysteries is the mystery of ayahuasca. Now, I have a book by Graham Hancock. I actually lent it to a friend. But Graham talks about how people have studied the Amazon, and there are something like 150,000 different plant species. There's probably more than that. It's a conservative number. And the way they make ayahuasca is by combining 2 plants, specifically 2 plants. And they boil the 2 plants together because one plant contains DMT, dimethyltryptamine, which causes the trip, and the other plant has an MAOI inhibitor. The DMT won't work unless it's mixed with the MAOI inhibitor. So the odds of these ancient peoples discovering these 2 individual plants that mix together to do this in a rainforest of 150,000 species of plants, you've seen how it honestly, the most parsimonious answer, the answer that makes most sense, Occam's razor, is that this intelligence was given to them. This happens all over the world, right? It's incredible. Number 11, Gussian. The 11th spirit in order is a great and strong duke called Gussian. He appeareth like a Xenophilus. He telleth all things past, present, and to come, and showeth the meaning and resolution of all questions thou mayest ask. He conciliateth and reconciliateth friendships, and giveth honor and dignity unto any. He ruleth over 40 legions of spirits. His seal is this, the which wear thou as aforesaid. 12. Citri. The 12th spirit is Citri. He is a great prince, and appeareth at first with a leopard's head and the wings of a griffin. But after the command of the master of the exorcism, he putteth on human shape. Think of like your European seals. I'm not going to try and find one right now, but I'd imagine we can probably find a leopard or a lion-looking creature with griffin's wings. That's all these animals on these crests, like unicorns and stuff. You're going to see all of them come up here. This is how the demons appear. This is where these mythological animals come from. They're not just, narwhals and unicorns. These are the appearance of the spirits before they take the shape of man. Wow. Master of the exorcism, he putteth on human shape, and that very beautiful. He inflameth men with women's love, and women with men's love, and causeth them also to show themselves naked, if it be desired. He governeth 60 legions of spirits. His seal is this, to be worn as a layman before thee. Sounds like a Hollywood demon they would invoke. 13. Beleth. The 13th spirit is called Beleth, or Billith, or Billet. He is a mighty king and terrible. He rideth on a pale horse, with trumpets and other kinds of musical instruments playing before him. He rideth on a pale horse. So you can see there are connections here to the revelation of John, and the other horses are going to come up too. This is crazy. He is very furious at his first appearance, that is, while the exorcist layeth his courage, for to do this he must hold a hazel wand in his hand, striking it out towards the south and east quarters. Make a triangle without the circle, and then command him into it by the bonds and charges of spirits as hereafter followeth. And if he doth not enter into the triangle at your threats, rehearse the bonds and charms before him, and then he will yield obedience and come into it, and do what he is commanded by the exorcist. Yet he must receive him courteously, because he is a great king, and do homage unto him, as the kings and princes do that attend upon him. And thou must have always a silver ring on the middle finger of the left hand, held against thy face, as they do yet before a Maimon. This great King Belith causeth all love that may be, both of men and of women, until the master exorcist hath had his desire fulfilled. He is of the order of powers, and he governeth 85 legions of spirits. His noble seal is this, which is to be worn before thee at working. Wow. So perhaps Solomon invoked this god to get his 1,000 females. Pretty crazy. Notice they say, to do this he must hold a hazel wand, right? So the Druids used Hollywood with their wands, and we can see here in the Middle East, or what was, Asia back then, they were using hazel wands in their invocations. Okay. 14, Lareha, or Lareka. The 14th spirit, Lareka, he is a marquis, great in power, showing himself in the likeness of an archer clad in green and carrying a bow and quiver. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh, dude. This is so sad. I typed in Robin Hood to images and expected the Disney character to come up, and look at all this garbage that comes up about Bitcoin. Unbelievable, dude. Ugh, the world's changing so fast. Would you look at that? Lareka, who is a great marquis, shows himself in the likeness of an archer clad in green, carrying a bow and quiver. An archer clad in green, carrying what? A bow and quiver. The Disney theme's gonna come up a few times. Unbelievable. I always have a lisp when I say causeth. He causeth all great battles and contest, and maketh wounds to putrefy that are made with arrows by archers. This belongeth unto Sagittary. He governeth 30 legions of spirits, and this is his seal. 15. Eligos. The 15th spirit in order is Eligos, a great duke, and appeareth in the form of a goodly knight, carrying a lance, an ensign, and a serpent. He discovereth hidden things and knoweth things to come, and of wars, and how the soldiers will or shall meet. He causeth the love of lords and great persons. He governeth 60 legions of spirits. His seal is this. I have a feeling Eligos, which is pretty close to soldier, just needs a D and an R. Eligos, I'd imagine, could have been invoked when, during the Crusades, the Templars traveled to Jerusalem, and what'd they do? They discovered hidden things, right? They discovered the knowledge of these 72 spirits, I believe. So Elagos helps discover hidden things, and he's also the demon for war. 16. Zephyr. The 16th spirit is Zephyr. He is a great duke and appeareth in red apparel and armor, like a soldier. Roman soldier, right? Unbelievable. Appeareth at first. Hold on. Where was I? He appeareth in red apparel and armor like a Roman soldier. His office is to cause women to love men, and to bring them together in love. He also maketh them barren. He governeth 26 legions of inferior spirits, and his seal is this, which he obeyeth when he seeth it. Well, they're going to be using this demon, because I have a feeling they want to make us barren. I have a feeling they want to make us infertile and sterilize us, especially through the medical industry. And check this out. I just noticed this. Zephyr, look at R-A-P-E, rape. His office is to cause women to love men. So this demon is a demon of rape, I think. It's not causing women to men. It's forcing women to have men onto them, right? It's rape. It's crazy. 17, Bodis. Always read things backwards. Whenever a word like a god or anything, always read it backwards. Bodis, Sitab. The 17th spirit is Bodis, a great president and an earl. He appeareth at the first show in the form of an ugly viper. Then at the command of the magician he putteth on a human shape, with great teeth and 2 horns, carrying a bright and sharp sword in his hand. He telleth all things past and to come, and reconcileth friends and foes. He ruleth over 60 legions of spirits, and this is his seal. 18. Bothan. The 18th spirit is Bothan. He is a mighty and strong duke. He appeareth like a strong man with the tail of a serpent, sitting upon a pale-colored horse. He knoweth the virtues of herbs and precious stones, and can transport men suddenly from one country to another. He ruleth over 30 legions of spirits. His seal is this, which is to be worn as aforesaid. So 18, Bathan can teleport people. Rides on a pale horse, tail of a serpent, knowledge of herbs and precious stones. 19, Salos. The 19th spirit is Salos, or Salios. He is a great and mighty duke, and appeareth in the form of a gallant soldier riding on a crocodile, with a ducal crown on his head, but peaceably. He causeth the love of woman to men, and of men to woman. He governeth 30 legions of spirits. 20, Person. P-U-R-S-O-N. Think about that, person. The 20th spirit is Person, a great king. His appearance is comely, like a man with a lion's face, carrying a cruel viper in his hand, and riding upon a bear. Going before him are many trumpets sounding. He knoweth all things hidden, and can discover treasure, and tell all things past, present, and to come. He can take a body either human or aerial, and answereth truly of all earthly things, both secret and divine, and of the creation of the world. He bringeth forth good familiars, and under his government there be 22 legions of spirits, partly of the order of virtues, and partly of the order of thrones. His mark, seal, and character is this, unto the which he oweth obedience, and which thou shalt wear in time of action. So whatever these diagrams are in the beginning are associated with the invocation of these 72 spirits, right? So you'd have to draw things on the ground, have certain perfumes, have certain foods, have certain sounds. Marax. The 21st spirit is Marax. He is a great earl and president. He appeareth like a great bull with a man's face. His office is to make men very knowing in astronomy and all other liberal sciences, and he can give good familiars and wise, knowing the virtues of herbs and stones, which be precious. He governeth 30 legions of spirits, and his seal is this, which must be made and worn as aforesaid, etc. That's interesting. We have the word Marx, right? Karl Marx, the father of the liberal sciences, right? What we call liberal today. And, Marx and communism are the route to star worship. So we see Marax here as knowing in astronomy. Interesting. 22, Ipos. The 22nd spirit is Ipos. He is an earl and a mighty prince, and appeareth in the form of an angel with a lion's head, and a goose's foot, and a hare's tail. He knoweth all things, past, present, and to come. He maketh men witty and bold. He governeth 36 legions of spirits. His seal is this, which thou shalt wear. 23. Aim, A-I-M. Mia, aim. Amy, A-M-I. The 23rd spirit is Aim. He is a great strong duke. He appeareth in the form of a very handsome man in body, but with 3 heads, the first like a serpent, the second like a man having 2 stars on his forehead, the third like a calf. He rideth on a viper, carrying a firebrand in his hand. Now, we talked about Cusco for a moment, and the legend of how all of this was brought to Peru, they believe that this god named Viracocha showed up from the ocean, riding on a serpent, a feathered serpent. And Viracocha was a white man, robed, with blue eyes and a beard. And he taught the Inca, and the Inca referred to the ruling class that knew this knowledge. He taught the Inca the arts of precious stones, cutting stones, building terraces, planting crops. These people, this ancient culture is, all over the world there's cultures like this that seem to be inspired, I don't want to say divinely, they are inspired by the serpent, right? And they all ultimately worship the serpent when you go back far enough. The brotherhood of the serpent, the brotherhood of Lucifer, right? So all these ancient megalithic places, I think they all have to do with these 72 demons, Lucifer's cohort, Lucifer's crew. And of course, they traveled all over the world. I think the world's been globalized forever. Maybe with certain, eras where continents are divided, after things collapse, but especially back then, the world was absolutely, completely globalized, and there was technology that we wouldn't even believe today. There were a lot of things going on. So this sounds a lot like Viracocha. So he's riding a serpent. He rideth on a viper, carrying a firebrand in his hand, where he setteth cities, castles, and great places on fire. He maketh thee witty in all manner of ways, and giveth true answers unto private matters. He governeth 26 legions of inferior spirits, and his seal is this, which wear thou, as aforesaid. And you got to think, too, there's angels all throughout the Bible that inspire man to follow God's will, to be strong, to do as God wishes, and to be faithful, right? So literally, this spiritual war was physical. That's what I think. This all really happened. 24. Naberius. The 24th spirit is Naberius. He is a most valiant marquis, and showeth in the form of a black crane, fluttering about in a circle. And when he speaketh, it is with a hoarse voice. He maketh men cunning in all arts and sciences, but especially in the art of rhetoric. He restoreth lost dignities and honors. He governeth 19 legions of spirits. His seal is this, which is to be worn. You ever see that movie Black Swan, where it's a psychological thriller, and there's like 2 main characters, 2 girls that are professional ballet girls, and they're in this show called The Black Swan, and one of them is evil, remember? And what's her name? Maya Kunis, M-I-A, number 23, the god Aim, not God, the demon Aim. And Maya Kunis, in that movie, uses her rhetoric to convince and basically make the other girl go crazy. Gets her to take drugs, gets her to have sex with her, lesbian sex with her. You see how this, especially Hollywood, you see how this is all tied into media? Oh, this is crazy. So yeah, Naberius takes the form of a black crane. Reminds me of the Black Swan. And Naberius is also the master of the art of rhetoric, which is a theme in the movie Black Swan. 25. Glasia Labolis. The 25th spirit is Glasia Labolis. He is a mighty president and earl, and showeth himself in the form of a dog with wings, like a griffin. He teacheth all arts and sciences in an instant, and is an author of bloodshed and manslaughter. He teacheth all things past and to come. If desired, he causeth the love both of friends and of foes. He can make a man to go invisible, and he hath under his command 36 legions of spirits. Number 26, Boon or Bime. The 26th spirit is Boon or Bime. He is a strong, great, and mighty duke. He appeareth in the form of a dragon with 3 heads, one like a dog, one like a griffin, and one like a man. He speaketh with a high and comely voice. He changeth the place of the dead, and causeth the spirits which under him to gather together upon your sepulchres. He giveth riches unto a man, and maketh him wise and eloquent. He giveth true answers unto demands, and he governeth 30 legions of spirits. Wow, that's very interesting. Unto which he oweth obedience. So, what do they say up here? It was worded weird, but he said, he causes the spirits which be under him to gather together upon your sepulchres. Sounds like the perfect workforce. 27, Renove. The 27th spirit is Renove. He appeareth in the form of a monster. He teacheth the art of rhetoric very well, and giveth good servants, knowledge of tongues, and favors with friends, or foes. He is a marquis and great earl, and there be under his command 19 legions of spirits. 28. Berith. The 28th spirit, in order as Solomon bound them. Solomon bound them. He mastered them, and put them in the vessel. And think about 19. 19 comes up all the time. And there's a cycle of terror that's been forced upon us every 19 years. 2001, 2020, literally 1982, I think it's 19 years before. Yeah, they do it every 19 years. And in one sense, they're following the cycle of the moon. But at the same time, when we read this, we see the number 19 over and over again. That's what it makes me think of. Okay, 28, Berith. The 28th spirit, in order as Solomon bound them, is named Berith. He is a mighty, great, and terrible duke. He hath 2 other names given unto him by men of later times, Beel, or Baal, and Bofri, or Bolfrey. He appeareth in the form of a soldier with red clothing, riding upon a red horse, and having a crown of gold upon his head. There you go. We've had 3 of the horses from the book of Revelations already. Pale, white, red. Is the red one from the book of... I think so, yeah. He giveth true answers, past, present, and to come. Thou must make use of a ring in calling him forth. As in before spoken of regarding Belith, he can turn all metals into gold. He can give dignitaries, and can confirm them unto man. He speaketh with a very clear and subtle voice, governeth 26 legions of spirits. Sounds like the father of alchemy to me. The demon that brought alchemy unto man. This is why the exoteric definition of alchemy is attempting to turn lead into gold, right? But when you look at the esoteric and you spend a lot of time researching it, you find out alchemy is referring to Berith, the science given by the fallen angel Berith. 29, Astaroth. The 29th spirit is Astaroth. He is a mighty strong duke, and appeareth in the form of a hurtful angel, riding on an infernal beast like a dragon, and carrying in his right hand a viper. Thou must in no wise let him approach too near unto thee, lest he do thee damage by his noisome breath. Wherefore the magician must hold the magical ring near his face, and that will defend him. He giveth true answers of things past, present, and to come, and can discover all secrets. He will declare wittingly how the spirits fell, if desired, and the reason of his own fall. He can make men wonderfully knowing in all liberal sciences. He ruleth over 40 legions of spirits. Wow. He will declare wittingly how the spirits fell, if desired, and the reason of his own fall. That's Astaroth. Fornius. Wow. Think of the word fornicate, right? Obviously comes to mind right away. Fornius, fornicate. The 30th spirit is Fornius. He is a mighty and great marquis, and appeareth in the form of a great sea monster. He teacheth and maketh men wonderfully knowing in the art of rhetoric. He causeth men to have a good name, and to have the knowledge and understanding of tongues. He maketh one to be beloved of his foes as well as his friends. He governeth 29 legions of spirits, partly of the order of thrones, partly of the order of angels. Well, if a man's trying to fornicate, he has to master his rhetoric. He must, master his rhetoric, and he must have a good name, and he must use his understanding of tongues to communicate. And by invoking Fornius with the goal of fornicating, he will become beloved by his friends. Unbelievable, dude. Foras. Sounds almost like flora, like flowers, right? Foras, 31. The 31st spirit is Foras. He is a mighty president, and appeareth in the form of a strong man in human shape. He can give the understanding to men how they may know the virtues of all herbs and precious stones. There you go. He teacheth the arts of logic and ethics in all their parts. If desired, he maketh men invisible, and to live long, and to be eloquent. He can discover treasures and recover things lost. He ruleth over 29 legions of spirits, and his seal is this. 32, Asmodee. Once again, almost the word Monday. Interesting. Asmodee. The 32nd spirit is Asmodee or Asmodai. He is a great king, strong and powerful. He appeareth with 3 heads, whereof the first is like a bull, the second like a man, and the third like a ram. He hath also the tail of a serpent, and from his mouth issue flames of fire. His feet are webbed like those of a goose. He sitteth upon an infernal dragon, and beareth in his hand a lance with a banner. Wow. He is first and choicest under the power of Amaimon. He goeth before all other. When the exorcist hath a mind to call him, let it be abroad, and let him stand on his feet all the time of action, with his cap or headdress off. For if it be on, Amaimon will deceive him, and call all his actions to be bewrayed. But as soon as the exorcist seeth Asmodee in the shape aforesaid, he shall call him by his name, saying, Art thou Asmodee? And he will not deny it, and by he will bow down unto the ground. He giveth the ring of virtues. He teacheth the arts of arithmetic, astronomy, and geometry, and all handicrafts absolutely. He giveth true and full answers unto thy demands. He maketh one invincible. He showeth the place where treasures lie, and guardeth it. He amongst the legions of Amaimon governeth 72 legions of spirits inferior. His seal is this which thou must wear as a layman upon thy breast. Wow. So he can provide mastering the arts of arithmetic, astronomy, geometry, and all handicrafts. Once again, think about the megaliths. That's crazy. Okay. 33, I'm sure this is important. Gap, G-A-A-P. The 33rd spirit is Gaap. He is a great president and a mighty prince. He appeareth when the sun is in some of the southern signs, in a human shape, before 4 great and mighty kings, as if he were a guide, to conduct them along on their way. His office is to make men insensible or ignorant, as also in philosophy to make them knowing, and in all the liberal sciences. He can cause love or hatred. Also he can teach thee to consecrate those things that belong to the dominion of Amaimon, his king. Real quick. His office is to make men insensible or ignorant. Remember in 1924, the Steinbeck quote, is that his last name? Steiner, Rudolf Steiner's quote, talking about the goal of all of this electrical smog, electrical fluid that we're all living in is to ultimately make us more insensible and ignorant, to dull the intelligence. That's what's going on with all this technology. They're using forces we can't see that they know everything about to dumb the people down. So, you know, on the exoteric side, this appears to be a god, but really what it is a fallen angel that is providing basically occulted hidden knowledge of how to make men insensible or ignorant, the knowledge of running the correct frequencies. This is why Solomon had a copper mine. Remember we read that in the Bible dictionary, right? Mm-hmm. When we read these, try to picture them in today's context a little bit, right? He can cause love or hatred. Also, he can teach thee to consecrate those things that belong to the dominion of Amaimon his king. He can deliver familiars out of the custody of other magicians, and answereth truly and perfectly of things past, present, and to come. He can carry and recarry men very speedily from one kingdom to another, at the will and pleasure of the exorcist. He ruleth over 66 legions of spirits, and he was of the order of potentates. His seal is this. 34. Furfur. The 34th spirit is Furfur. He is a great and mighty earl, appearing in the form of a hart with a fiery tail. He never speaketh truth unless he be compelled or brought up within a triangle. Being therein, he will take upon himself the form of an angel. Being bidden, he speaketh with a hoarse voice. Also he will wittingly urge love between man and women. He can raise lightnings and thunders, blast and great tempestuous storms. And he giveth true answers both of things secret and divine if commanded. He ruleth over 26 legions of spirits, and his seal is this. Think about HARP, weather control, right? What are they doing? They're manipulating the air. They're creating clouds, creating storms. 35. Macosius. The 35th spirit is Marcosius. He is a great and mighty marquis, appearing at first in the form of a wolf, having griffin's wings and a serpent's tail, vomiting fire out of his mouth. But after a time, at the command of the exorcist, he putteth on the shape of a man, and he is a strong fighter. He was of the order of dominations, he governeth 30 legions of spirits. He told his chief, who was Solomon, that after 1200 years he had hopes to return unto the 7th throne. Uh-oh. Think about it, guys. You've probably realized that cultures all over the world have dragons in their legends, fire-breathing dragons. But apparently they say these cultures weren't connected at all. Chinese, Native American, South American, European, African. There's dragons from prehistory everywhere. How? If these people weren't connected, how? You know what I mean? They can't explain that. Dragons aren't real. How do cultures all over the world completely different from one another come up with the same exact mythological animal? This is not mythology. We have multiple demons here that are taking the form of dragons, fire-breathing dragons. It's crazy, dude. Stolas or Stolos. The 36th spirit is Stolas or Stolos. He is a great and powerful prince, appearing in the shape of a mighty raven at first before the exorcist, but after he taketh the image of a man, he teacheth the art of astronomy and the virtues of herbs and precious stones. 37. Phoenix. The 37th spirit is Phoenix. He is a great marquis, and appeareth like the bird phoenix, having the voice of a child. He singeth many sweet notes before the exorcist, which he must not regard, but by and by he must bid him put on human shape. Then he will speak marvelously of all wonderful sciences, if required. He is a poet, good and excellent, and he will be willing to perform thy request. He hath hopes also to return to the 7th throne after 1200 years more, as he said unto Solomon. At the end of this presentation, we're going to just do an image search of all sorts of different megaliths, and keeping all of this in mind about these angels, right? I mean, these works are godly in nature. They're unexplainable. The only thing that can explain them is fallen angel intelligence causing apotheosis and giving human beings the ability to manipulate stuff like that, right? Mastering the 72 spirits, following the left-hand path, denouncing God. Okay, 38. Halphus or Malthus. The 38th spirit is Halphus or Malthus. He is a great earl, and appeareth in the form of a stock dove. He speaketh with a hoarse voice. His office is to build up towers, and to furnish them with ammunition and weapons, and to send men of war to places appointed. He ruleth over 26 legions. Wow. So, the truth that's in the Bible is a truth for everybody, right? When we look at all these religions of the world and how they all worship pantheons, they're all worshiping different combinations of what we're reading, in my opinion. I watched a video yesterday of like an underground Christian church in China, and seeing like 30 Chinese people open up a package of smuggled in Bibles, the first Bibles they've ever seen or held, and they all just start crying, kissing the Bibles. Like some of them fall to their knees. They are that happy to have the Word of God. So you got to understand, it doesn't matter what pantheon it is, Greek, Rome, Egypt, Hindu, Japanese, right? They're all picking and choosing certain gods from this pantheon. And when these groups worship one god, they're only worshiping Lucifer, just like Akhenaten did hundreds of years before Solomon. Absolutely bonkers, dude. Malthus. Did we read Malthus? We're on Malthus. Okay. We read Halphus. Now we're on 39. Malthus. The 39th spirit is Malthus. He appeareth at first like a crow, but after he will put on human shape at the request of the exorcist, and speak with a hoarse voice. He is a mighty president and powerful. He can build houses and high towers, and can bring to thy knowledge enemies' desires and thoughts, and that which they have done. He giveth good familiars. If thou makest a sacrifice unto him, he will receive it kindly and willingly, but he will deceive him that doth it. Wow, that's Mr. T. That's literally Mr. T. But after he will put on human shape at the request of the exorcist, and speak with a hoarse voice, Mr. T. He is a mighty president and powerful, Mr. T. He can build houses and high towers. What does Mr. T do? Real estate and high skyscrapers, high towers. He can bring thy knowledge of enemies' desires and thoughts. What did he do? He exposed our enemy, right? Aspects that are true and false, I know. Don't worry, don't get triggered. He exposed a lot of what's going on. He giveth good familiars. If thou makest a sacrifice unto him, he will receive it kindly and willingly. Oh, I don't know anything about those guys, but I guess they like me. I mean, is it a bad thing I'm saving the world from Satanists? Remember that? But he will deceive him that doth it. But he will deceive him that doth it. So for everybody who's made this complete sacrifice into Mr. T, they will be deceived, ultimately. Wow. Dude, Malthus is Mr. T. We gotta Enter the Stars to watch this. Realm. The 40th spirit is Realm. He is a great earl, and appeareth at first in the form of a crow. But after the command of the exorcist, he putteth on human shape. His office is to steal treasures out of the king's houses, and to carry it whither he is commanded, and to destroy cities and dignities of men, and to tell all things past, and what is, and what will be, and to cause love between friends and foes. He was of the order of thrones, governing 30 legions of spirits. Focalor. The 41st spirit is Focalor, or Forcalor, or Furcalor. He is a mighty duke and strong. He appeareth in the form of a man with griffin's wings. His office is to slay men, and to drown them in the waters, and to overthrow ships of war. For he hath powers over both winds and seas. But he will not hurt any man or thing if he be commanded to the contrary by the exorcist. He also hath hopes to return to the 7th throne after 1,000 years, governing 30 legions. So this guy has more knowledge of weather. More knowledge of how to manipulate the invisible forces around us. The water in the air, right? What does 5G ultimately affect? Water. The water in our cells, the water in our skin. What do these military weapons do with these millimeter waves? These invisible weapons? They cause your skin to boil. They turn your eyes to eggs. This knowledge is ancient. It's just dressed up today. Okay, 42, Vapor. By the way, we did read some of these, and we'll stop once we get to what we read yesterday. Vapor, the 42nd spirit, Vapor, or Vephyr. He is a duke, great and strong, and appeareth like a mermaid. His office is to govern the waters, and to guide ships laden with arms, armor, and ammunition thereon. And at the request of the exorcist, he can cause the seas to be right stormy, and to appear full of ships. Also, he maketh men to die in 3 days by putrefying wounds or sores, and causing worms to breed in them. He governeth 29 legions. There's your Disney reference once again, The Little Mermaid, right? 43, Sabnoch. The 43rd spirit, as King Solomon commanded them into the vessel of brass, is called Sabnoch or Savnoch. He's a marquis, mighty, great, and strong, appearing in the form of an armed soldier with a lion's head, riding on a pale-colored horse. His office is to build high towers, castles, and cities, and to furnish them with armor. Also, he can afflict men for many days with wounds and with sores, rotten and full of worms. He giveth good familiars at the request of the exorcist, and commandeth 50 legions. 44, Shan. The 44th spirit is Shax, or Shaz, Shan, or Shas. He is a great marquis, and appeareth in the form of a stock dove, speaking with a voice hoarse but yet subtle. His office is to take away the sight, hearing, or understanding of any man or woman at the commanding of the exorcist. Think about that. I'm not taking that literally, although they most certainly probably could do that literally. I'm talking about that figuratively. This Shan, this demon, takes away the sight, hearing, or understanding of any man or woman at the command of the exorcist, right? That's why people don't understand this information unless they have eyes to hear and or ears to hear and eyes to see, right? Sight, hearing, understanding. Wow. And to steal money out of the houses of kings, and to carry it again in 1200 years. If commanded, he will fetch horses at the request of the exorcist or any other thing. But he must first be commanded into a triangle, or else he will deceive him, and tell him many lies. He can discover all things that are hidden, and not kept by wicked spirits. He giveth good familiar sometimes. He governeth 30 legions of spirits, and his seal is this. If commanded, he will fetch horses at the request. You ever seen someone fetch a horse? How do they do it? They whistle. What's a whistle? It's a sound. It's a frequency. Boom, horse comes right over. Is it nature or is it nurture? Is the horse raised, getting used to the whistle, or is the horse responding to a frequency? I'm thinking the latter. 45, Vina. The 45th spirit is Vina or Vania. He is a great king and an earl, and appeareth in the form of a lion, riding upon a black horse. Once again, another horse from the Bible. And bearing a viper in his hand. His office is to discover things hidden, witches, wizards, and things present, past, and to come. He, at the command of the exorcist, will build towers, overthrow great stone walls, and make the waters rough with storms. He governeth 36 legions of spirits. 46, Bifrons. Bifrons. That's Biff. That's what Enter the Stars says Mr. T is. Let's read this one. Bifrons. The 46th spirit is called Bifrons, or Bifrus, or Bifrovs. He is an earl, and appeareth in the form of a monster. But after a while, at the command of the exorcist, he putteth on the shape of a man. His office is to make one knowing in astrology, geometry, and other arts and sciences. He teacheth the virtues of precious stones and woods. He changeth dead bodies and putteth them in another place. Also he lighteth seeming candles upon the graves of the dead. He hath under his command 6 legions of spirits. I find that very interesting. He lighteth seeming candles upon the graves of the dead. So not real candles. And one of the mysteries of ancient Egypt and a lot of these megalithic places is deep underground where they were, creating megalithic structures like the Serapeum in Egypt. There's no soot. So they were tunneling like miles underground and like moving massive, multi-hundred ton stones underground with no torches. And this guy, Bifron, says if he is invoked by the exorcist, he can lighteth seeming candles upon the graves of the dead. And that's what is where they buried their dead, the Egyptians, underground, right? Check this out. There's a temple called Dendera in Egypt. And everybody's always wondered about this hieroglyphic, where it appears we have what looks like 2 giants or 2 of these demons creating these. They almost look like vacuum chambers with serpents in them. They look like light bulbs. And then we have this like transistor looking thing with arms holding it up. Very mysterious, right? But somehow in these temples underground in Egypt, in these tombs, they could do these masterful works of hieroglyphics and painting without torches. Not all of them, but in a lot of them. Even if it was cleaned at some point, scientists would still be able to find the carbon footprint of torches, but they can't. Look up the Serapeum. It's mind-blowing. Actually, we'll look it up at the end. Don't worry. 47. Yuval, Vual, or Voval. The 47th spirit, Yuval, Vual, or Voval, he is a duke, great, mighty, and strong, and appeareth in the form of a mighty dromedary at the first. But after a while, at the command of the exorcist, he putteth on human shape, and speaketh the Egyptian tongue, but not perfectly. Wow. His office is to procure the love of women and to tell things past, present, and to come. He also procureth friendship between friends and foes, governing 37 legions. Notice we have 2 words we can make out of his name that refer to the female's reproduction system. And remember, he says his office is to procure the love of women, right? So we have vulva, is it V-O-L-V-A, vulva, I think? And then what, uvula? That's another part of the women's anatomy. We have multiple words in the women's anatomy that can be derived from the letters of this demon's name. Let me show you, what was I going to do? It'll come back to me. Hagenti, number 48. He is a president appearing in the form of a mighty bull with griffin's wings. This is at first, but after the command of the exorcist, he putteth on human shape. His office is to make men wise and to instruct them in divers things. Also, to transmute all metals into gold, and to change wine into water, and water into wine. He governeth 33 legions of spirits, and his seal is this. So this, once again, a mockery of Jesus, right? 33, the year Jesus in his life that he was killed, and a mockery of the miracle of Jesus, the turning of water into wine. So we can see here, this isn't God. This is a mockery of God, and this is a reflection of God, right? That these people worship. And they're trying to use this reflection of God's knowledge to attain their own method of eternal life. 49. Crossel. The 49th spirit is Crossel or Crockle. He appeareth in the form of an angel. He is a great duke and strong, speaking something mystically of hidden things. He teacheth the art of geometry and the liberal sciences. Remember, when they say the art of geometry, remember Eric Raskin's documentary, how geometrical shapes have sounds, right? They have frequencies, even when you look at them, because the light reflecting releases a frequency as well. So these symbols, these signs, they affect you just as something audible would affect you. He at the command of the exorcist will produce great noises like the rushing of many waters, although there be none. He warmeth waters and discovereth baths. Wow, that's crazy. He can produce great noises like the rushing of many waters when there are none. And I just brought up geometry and its relation to sound, right? Manipulation of sound. Governing 48 legions. 50, Furcos. The 50th spirit is Furcos. He is a knight, and appeareth in the form of a cruel old man, with a long beard and a hoary head, riding upon a pale-colored horse with a sharp weapon in his hand. His office is to teach the arts of philosophy, astrology, rhetoric, logic, chiromancy, and pyromancy, in all their parts and perfectly. He hath under his power 20 legions of spirits. 51. Balaam. The 51st spirit is Balaam or Balaam. He is a terrible, great, and powerful king. He appeareth with 3 heads. The first is like that of a bull. The second is like that of a man. The third is like that of a ram. He hath the tail of a serpent and flaming eyes. He rideth upon a furious bear, and carrieth a boshock upon his fist. He speaketh with a hoarse voice, giving true answers of things past, present, and to come. He maketh men to go invisible, and also to be witty. 52. Alicis. The 52nd spirit is Alicis, or Alocus. He is a duke, great and mighty, and strong, appearing in the form of a soldier riding upon a great horse. His face is like that of a lion, very red, and having flaming eyes. His speech is hoarse and very big. His office is to teach the art of astronomy and all the liberal sciences. He bringeth unto thee good familiars. Also he ruleth over 36 legions. I think we're almost done. But there's one more bombshell. Cameo or Came. The 53rd spirit is Cameo or Came. He is a great president and appeareth in the form of a bird called a thrush at first. But afterwards he putteth on the shape of a man, carrying in his hand a sharp sword. He seemeth to answer in burning ashes or in coals of fire. He is a good disputer. His office is to give unto men the understanding of all birds, lowing the bullocks, barking of dogs, and other creatures, and also of the voice of the waters. He giveth true answers of things to come. He was of the order of angels, but now ruleth over 30 legions of spirits infernal. His seal is this, which wear thou. 54. Murmur or Murmus. The 54th spirit is called Murmur or Murmus or Myrmix. He is a great duke and an earl, and appeareth in the form of a warrior, riding upon a griffin with a ducal crown upon his head. There do go before him those his ministers with great trumpets sounding. His office is to teach philosophy perfectly, and to constrain souls deceased, to come before the exorcist to answer those questions which he may wish to put to them, if desired. He was partly of the order of thrones, and partly of the angels. 55. Oribus. The 55th spirit is Oribus. He is a great and mighty prince, appearing at first like a horse, but after the command of the exorcist he putteth on the image of a man. His office is to discover all things, past, present, and to come, also to give dignities and prelacies in the favor of friends and of foes. He giveth true answers of divinity, and of the creation of the world. He is a very faithful unto the exorcist, and will not suffer him to be tempted of any spirit, governing 20 legions. Gremory, or Gamori. The 56th spirit. He is a duke, strong and powerful, and appeareth in the form of a beautiful woman, with a duchess crown tied about her waist, and riding on a great camel. His office is to tell of all things, past, present, and to come. Wow, hold on. My dad collected antiques when I was young, and we actually had this sign on our back porch. It was a Arabian-looking lady with a mask on a camel for Camel cigarettes, like riding on a camel, like Arabian Nights themed. It's not coming up. That's too bad. But that's exactly exactly what those ad men were portraying. They were portraying Gremory. Beautiful woman with a duchess crown tied about her waist riding on a great camel. 57. Ose or Voso. The 57th spirit is Oso, Ose, or Voso. He's a great president, and appeareth like a leopard at the first, but after a little time he putteth on the shape of a man. His office is to make one cunning in the liberal sciences, and to give true answers of divine and secret things, also to change a man into any shape that the exorcist pleaseth, so that he that is so changed will not think any other thing than that he is in verity that creature or thing he is changed into. Wow. The ability to completely change someone without them even knowing it. 58. Amy, or Avnas. The 58th spirit is Amy, or Avnas. He is a great president, and appeareth at first in the form of a flaming fire, but after a while he putteth on the shape of a man. His office is to make one wonderful knowing in astrology and all other liberal sciences. He giveth good familiars, and can bury treasure that is kept by spirits. He governeth 36 legions of spirits, and his seal is this. 59. Oriax, or Aureus. The 59th spirit is Oriax, or Aureus. He is a great marquis, and appeareth in the form of a lion, riding upon a horse, mighty and strong, with a serpent's tail. And he holdeth in his right hand 2 great serpents hissing. His office is to teach the virtues of the stars, and to know the mansions of the planets, and how to understand their virtues. He also transformeth men, and he giveth dignities, prelacies, and confirmation thereof. Number 60. Vapula, or Nafula. The 60th spirit is Vapula, or Nafula. He is a great duke, mighty and strong, appearing in the form of a lion with griffin's wings. Wow, a lion with griffin's wings. That's literally on the crest of many nations. His office is to make men knowing in all handcrafts and professions, also in philosophy and other sciences. He governeth 36 legions. Zagan. The 61st spirit is Zagan. He is a great king and president, appearing at first in the form of a bull with griffin's wings, but after a while putteth on human shape. He maketh men witty, and can turn wine into water, and blood into wine, also water into wine. He can turn all metals into coin, of the dominion that metal is of. He can even make a fool wise. He governeth 33 legions. So once again, 33 legions are ascribed to the one that mocks the miracles of God. 62. Volak, and Valak is the 62nd spirit. He is a president, mighty and great, and appeareth like a child with angels' wings, riding on a 2-headed dragon. His office is to give true answers of hidden treasures, and to tell where serpents may be seen, the which he will bring unto the exorciser without any force or strength, being by him employed. 63. Andros. The 63rd spirit, Andros, is a great marquis, appearing in the form of an angel with a head like a black night raven, riding upon a strong black wolf, and having a sharp and bright sword flourished aloft in his hand. His office is to sow discords. If the exorcist have not a care, he will slay both him and his fellows. He governeth 30 legions. Horus, or Haris, or Havres, or Floros. The 64th spirit, he is a great duke, and appeareth at first like a leopard, mighty, terrible, and strong. But after a while, at the command of the exorcist, he putteth on human shape, with eyes flaming and fiery, a most terrible countenance. He giveth true answers of all things, present, past, and to come. But if he be not commanded into a triangle, he will lie in all these things, and deceive and beguile the exorcist in these things, or in such and such business. He will lastly talk of the creation of the world, and of divinity, and of how he and other spirits fell. Oh my goodness. He destroyeth and burneth up those who be enemies of the exorcist, should he so desire it. Also he will not suffer him to be tempted by any other spirit or otherwise. 65. Andrealphus, mighty marquis, appearing at first in the form of a peacock. What do we see on that ancient Torah in Turkey in that guy's trunk? We saw the peacock. What is NBC's logo? The peacock. What's on the peacock's feather? The all-seeing eye. He is a mighty marquis, appearing at first in the form of a peacock, with great noises. But after a time he putteth on human shape. He can teach geometry perfectly. He maketh men very subtle therein, and in all things pertaining unto mensuration, or astronomy. He can transform a man into the likeness of a bird. Think about this wording, you guys. The peacock, think of NBC News. He can teach geometry perfectly. So using signs and symbols to manipulate, right? That's what the news does. Those little transitions when the news, intro plays, the reason they're so complex, if you slow that down, there is so much animation and so much graphics going on that they are using these shapes and these resonances and these frequencies and the sight and the reflection of light, all of this. They're using it to control you. He maketh men very subtle therein. You become a zombie if you watch the mainstream media. 66. I want you to do that. Pick any news thing and go on YouTube and slow it down as much as you can. Or, find someone who has. And look at the detail in that 1 second transition with all these shapes. ESPN does it a lot too. 66. Symagus or Simius or Chimaris, the 66th spirit. He is a marquis, mighty, great, strong, and powerful, appearing like a valiant warrior, riding upon a goodly black horse. He ruleth over all spirits in the parts of Africa. His office is to teach perfectly grammar, logic, rhetoric, and to discover things lost or hidden. Interesting. '67, Amdusius. He is a duke, great and strong, appearing at first like a unicorn, but at the request of the exorcist he standeth before him in human shape. There's your mermaid, there's your unicorn. There's where these things actually come from. This is on the Great Seal of Britain, the unicorn. These are not man-made fantasy characters. These are the images of demons as they appear. Oh, man. Then he takes human shape, causing trumpets and all manner of musical instruments to be heard, but not soon or immediately. Also he can cause trees to bend and incline according to the exorcist will. He giveth excellent familiars. Trees to bend, that's interesting. At the exorcist will, manipulating physical structure with your mind, maybe? Let's see. 68, Belial. The 68th spirit is Belial. He is a mighty and powerful king. Listen to this, you guys. Here's a bombshell. And was created next after Lucifer. Let me zoom in on that. 68, Belial. The 68th spirit is Belial. He is a mighty and a powerful king, and was created next after Lucifer. He appeareth in the form of 2 beautiful angels sitting in a chariot of fire. He speaketh with a comely voice and declareth that he fell first from among the worthier sort that were before Michael and other heavenly angels. His office is to distribute presentations and senatorships, and to cause favor of friends and of foes. He giveth excellent familiars commanding 50 legions. Wow. So this is Solomon's key is clearly the fallen angel intelligence. 100%. No question about it anymore. And Solomon was able to harness the power of these 72 demons to manifest a kingdom and build a temple. And you got to understand that temple. I think Nicholson's honest on. I think the temple is creating a temple out of man, turning man into a temple. Because ultimately, our body is the temple, right? Our body is a temple of God. But these people want to destroy our souls and to create their own man-made temple and use us all as avatars. Use us as Gollum. Infect us with these sorts of spirits and belief systems and religions and sciences, and basically control humanity until they, as Aldous Huxley would say in 1961, enjoy their own slavery. Dictatorship without tears, right? Mind control. This is how Solomon had all of his success, I think. Let's look at these pictures again. Actually, I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now we're back at the Capitol building, the rotunda, the dome of the temple, and we're looking at the Apotheosis of Washington. And you can see Washington's right here, right? One hand up, one hand pointing down, as above, so below, just like the Baphomet. You can see next to him, these are all different gods. This one's carrying the fasci. How wonderful, right? The bundle of sticks used to burn Christians during the Inquisition. And here is a Phrygian cap, which is a symbol of magic. Now, all these gods portrayed here, while they are representations from ancient Greece and ancient Rome mostly, all those are later iterations of the gods that I shouldn't say gods, the demons that Solomon was in communication with. Their names all just go back to that list of 72, ultimately. And I'd say that's probably true of many pantheons throughout the world. Probably all of them. In one way or another, they're all connected. And then you see the rainbow here? A rainbow is a reflection of the firmament. It's a refraction of light in the firmament. There's your proof. What they tell you is a lie. And then, what else we got? The eagle, of course. The goddess with the eagle on her helmet. I can't tell who she's slaying here, but looks like she's about to slay someone. Interesting. This is why there are 72 stars surrounding this circle. Let's rotate. Whoop. Hold on. Let's see what's going on here. We could do a really deep dive on all this one day. Okay, so now we have the other end of the rainbow. Cornucopia. Looks like they're leading pale horses. Wow. Wow. Is this a rendition of the building of Solomon's temple? Is this Solomon's copper forge? Yo. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the first thing I thought of when I saw this, right? Smelting and forging of copper, just like we read about Solomon. Interesting. Could that be what that is? And here's the stone. Yeah, probably. Wow, look at... Oh my goodness, I've never looked at this deeply. Here we have Mercury, Hermes, or Thoth. He's a member of the pantheons of Egypt, Greece, and Rome, but ultimately, I can't remember which demon on the list of the 72 in the Vessel of Solomon, but one of them had in his hand 2 snakes intertwined, hissing at each other. The caduceus. See him holding it right here, pointing down. You see he's got a bag of money, and he's naked. He's a god of trickery, of thieves, right? He's literally the god of trickery and thieves, and look what he's doing. He's handing the money down to these slimy politicians and bankers, and he's teaching them the ways of Lucifer, pointing downwards. And they're going to say, oh, well, yeah, we'll just pretend we're worshiping God. Okay, we'll point upwards, and I'll put all this money into my briefcase, and I'll write this legislation. Unbelievable, dude. It's so obvious now. Crazy. And look at the poor people behind them. Look at just like with their heads down, you know what I mean? They have no clue. Backs turned. Wow, this is bonkers, dude. Absolutely bonk. Here we got Poseidon. Poseidon, there's the half shell of Venus, I think, right? The pale horse. The trident. He's on his chariot or something. Wow. And over here we have... Ooh. We talked about electricity yesterday, and that's what this is right here. Right? So you see how the god is pointing towards the electricity machine, right? I think we have... Is that Ben Franklin? Kind of looks like Ben Franklin. Might be. So you see here, we have the rainbow. What was the title of the book that we read yesterday by Arthur Furstenberg? The Invisible Rainbow. And it's all about the effects of electricity on man. We are being ruled by the Prince of the Air, by forces unseen, just like the Jedi. And we see right here, this god is pointing towards the electrical machine and also the beginning of the rainbow, harnessing the powers of the unseen, of the Prince of the Air, of Lucifer, to control and govern knowledge of the gods. So they say, knowledge of the fallen angels. This is mind-blowing. Wow, look at that. It's exactly what that's representing. That is why Arthur Furstenberg called it the invisible rainbow. People have no clue. Wow. So yeah, there's the reason for the 72 stars surrounding the apotheosis of George Washington. Man can become God by communicating, summoning, invoking, ceremonially worshiping the 72 fallen demons. That's the big lie. And they can achieve immortality. although none of them have done it yet. But they're pretty darn close, and that's what we're living through right now. It's going to be nuts. Have faith. Find Jesus. In all seriousness. And then when you look at the $1 bill, there's 72 bricks. I think we mentioned this underneath the eye, right? 72. Now, I might be wrong. Let's do some math real quick. Simple math. I don't want to do it in my head and be wrong. No, 72 cannot be divided by 13. 13 is a prime number. Yeah, that makes sense. But we have 72 bricks in the pyramid underneath Lucifer's eye, right? And in the writing where they describe the 72 demons, Solomon trapped in the vessel, they talk about how basically these are all under Lucifer. This is crazy. Absolutely nuts. Let me see if there's anything else we have before I let you guys go. Yeah, Akhenaten. Let's read about Akhenaten real quick. Akhenaten, there's a lot of intro stuff. Okay, 10th ruler of the 18th dynasty. His name was Amenhotep IV when he was a kid, but he changed his name to Akhenaten after he changed the religion of ancient Egypt. He's noted for abandoning Egypt's traditional polytheistic religion and introducing Atenism, worship centered on Aten. The views of Egyptologists differ whether Atenism should be considered as absolute monotheism or whether it was monolatry, syncretism, or henotheism. This cultural shift away from traditional religion was not widely accepted. After his death, Akhenaten's monuments were dismantled and hidden, his statues were destroyed, and his name excluded from list of rulers, compiled by later pharaohs. Traditional religious practice was gradually restored, notably under his close successor Tutankhamun, who changed his name from Tutankhaten early in his reign. See that word Amun at the end? Tutankhamun, Amun-Ra, the sun god. When some dozen years later, rulers without clear rights of succession from the 18th dynasty founded a new dynasty, they discredited Akhenaten and his immediate successors, referring to Akhenaten himself as the enemy or that criminal in archival records. Akhenaten was all but lost to history until the late 19th century discovery of Amarna, or Akhenaten, the new capital city he built for the worship of Aten. Furthermore, in 1907, a mummy that could be Akhenaten's was unearthed from the tomb of KV-55 in the Valley of the Kings. Obama's a clone. Obama looks a lot like Akhenaten. That's a great rabbit hole to go down one day. They look exactly the same. Let's see here. I want to look for their religion. What do we got? Okay. Oh, here's a great picture of Atenism, the monotheistic religion of the sun god, right? So what I think we're dealing with here is another example of a historical ruler mastering the 72 fallen angel sciences, right? And ultimately worshiping Lucifer. And then the people, of course, not liking the change in religion, but Akhenaten's a very important character in Masonry and in the mystical, occult, esoteric history, right? Gnosticism and stuff. We got to do a deep dig one day. What else we got? Talked about that. Yeah, let's do some pictures before we go of megaliths around the world. And we'll start here with Baalbek, Lebanon. There's multiple temples. There's a temple of Jupiter. There's a large court. There is hexagonal court. There's a Propylaea, the temple of Venus, the temple of Muses, the temple of Bacchus. But what we're interested in is the megaliths. So we already looked at a lot of them. But it should be noted that at Baalbek as well are megalithic Egyptian columns that somehow were brought from Egypt, so presumably with this technology, with this information, because they come from the Aswan quarry. Maybe we'll come across a picture of them. Don't think that's them. I think all the Egyptian ones are on the ground now. These are some of the only big boys still standing, though. Here's the classic Tomb of the Pregnant Woman. Stone of the Pregnant Woman, my bad. Here's that Trilathon again. The 800-ton stones that were lifted like 100 feet in the air. And remember, this U-shaped outer wall of megalithic stones was there before anything else. You can kind of see it in this photo. It's really small. But at the bottom left where my mouse is the U-shaped wall. And the Trilateral is actually right here where my mouse is. So before the first, written history people built their temples here, this U-shaped megalithic wall was here. They built their temple inside it and around it, venerating it. That's the idea. Let's go back. So actually right here, now this one on the left is cracked, but notice this is pink granite. Pink granite from the Aswan quarry, most likely in Upper Egypt, which is southern Egypt. So that's far away, the farthest part of Egypt from Lebanon, right? Here's an example of a megalithic single stone ancient Egyptian column. On the broken ones, there's actually sometimes one, sometimes three holes. These were turned on lathes, most likely. Think about that. They are smooth as a baby's bottom today. Turned on a lathe. Look how big it is. Of the hardest stone, right? And the fact that institutional history doesn't care about this at all is just so ridiculous. We looked at this picture. Like I said, the Romans were here, Arabs were here. Here's some of that foundation wall with a lady standing. You can see tool marks. You can see that some massive machinery was used, right? Something. This is that knowledge of the fallen. Knowledge from the Prince of the Air. Yeah, definitely got to go to Baalbek one day. Did you notice, too, there was a hexagonal court? And look at this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's probably, I don't know. But yeah, on the blueprint, there's a hexagonal court, of course. And the hexagon, the cube, Saturn. Where do we want to go next? Peru is even crazier, dude. In Peru, there is, I probably spelled that wrong. There is such an obvious distinction between what the Inca built, the Bronze Age Incans that the Spanish conquered, the ones that we have a written history of. Their structures are basic stone and mortar, stone that 2 to 4 men would lift, stuff any of us could go build today. But typically at the center of their society or town, or like Machu Picchu, at the center of everything was always megalithic architecture, the unexplainable type, as if they were venerating it. You see what's going on here? There was a time in the past when the world was ruled with this sort of fallen technology. Hold on. And if you look at the Bible, this is, the flood probably. When everything was, when the world was completely evil, right? Hold on. I spelled Machu Picchu very wrong. Machu Picchu megalithic center. See, it won't even come up. You think this would be the first thing that comes up on a Google search, right? So at the center of Machu Picchu, all the ways up on this mountain, mind you, are multi-ton stones perfectly fit together so that a hair doesn't fit between them. And you can see the Inca put their, completed structures that were already there. The difference is stark. And it looks like some sort of great earthquake must have moved this. And it must have been insanely powerful because these structures are perfect. Literally, these are perfect stone structures. Here's a great example of Inca on top of megalithic at Machu Picchu. Another beautiful example of megalithic at Machu Picchu. This is at a spot called Ollantaytambo, and this is all the ways on a super high cliff. Look at this wall. Let's do an Ollantaytambo. Yeah, Ollantaytambo? Definitely spelled that wrong. But once again, we see the same thing. The megalithic architecture with Inca repair next to it. That massive wall we just looked at is at Ollantaytambo. See, this is Inca building right here. It's incredible. Don't get me wrong. This would have been a straw-roofed granary, probably. Store all of the food they grew on these terraces. But they built their city here because they found the megaliths. And look at it. It doesn't even come up. That massive wall we were just looking at. Of huge pieces of granite. Perfectly cut. It's crazy. Coricancha in Cusco. There's a map of Peru on my wall above me. That's the first place I gotta go. Spelt that so wrong. Coricancha. Something like that. Yeah, Coricancha. This is some of the finest stonework on planet Earth, predating the Inca. Look at this. These are massive blocks that have been here for thousands of years, perfectly placed. No mortar, no concrete, stone on stone. These are the ruins of what would have probably been some sort of temple to this mysterious hidden civilization of people that, for some reason, the ruling powers don't want us to know about. Check this out. First map of Cusco. Let's see if it comes up. One of the first maps of Cusco by the Spanish priest, Jesuits probably, who arrived there. He actually drew, when he was drawing, it was like a bird's eye view, like pencil and paper with the streets and the buildings, and all the megalithic walls were specifically drawn a different way and labeled in the legend of the map, saying that here are all the walls that are clearly not Incan, that are clearly from some lost ancient race. Pumapunku is also another place with mind-boggling lost ancient high technology. Look up Christopher Dunn. He's been here. He's a very experienced engineer, and the precision in all of this is outstanding. Not only that, but all of these H blocks, there's a picture of them lined up. All of these precision H blocks are a little bit different. So they're not made in a mold. They're not made with a geopolymer. They're carved perfectly with perfectly straight and smooth edges, but they're all unique, which is very weird. Osaka, Japan, in the capital of Japan. I believe it's the Capitol building, actually. Its foundation is... let me do Osaka Megalith. The foundation of this building in Japan, where they have some sort of Capitol building, once again, is megalithic with, regular stuff on top of it. Regular recorded history, architecture on top. Look at this. It's undeniable. Absolutely undeniable. Egypt, of course, right? In the Serapeum of Egypt are all of these megalithic granite boxes that are all made from a single stone, weighing over 100 tons, and they're still shining and reflecting light today like a mirror. And the hieroglyphs that are carved on them are crude. These were found by the recorded dynastic Egyptians. And when I was talking about how there's no soot. No torches were used down here when these were somehow moved. Only about 50 men could pull this in these hallways down here. This is deep underground. And just like the unfinished obelisk and just like the unfinished Moai on Easter Island, we'll go there next, this was left in situ. This was being moved by some technology. There is no effing way people were pulling this through this hallway. They've actually built the floor around it now. So the Serapeum is just bonkers, dude. Absolutely bonkers. And then the Osirion in Egypt, 50 feet below ground level. So what you're seeing at the top where the people are is the Temple of Seti, and we know Seti as a pharaoh in recorded history. About 50 feet below the ground level, though, buried to time, is a megalithic structure called the Osirion, with 100-ton granite blocks being the average sign. And this is actually where the flower of life symbol comes from. Wow. Literally, there are two flowers of life, and they were found when the Osirion was found, and they are etched into these 100-ton and more granite blocks that are perfectly cut without mortar or concrete, stone on stone, so that you can't fit a hair in between. There they are right there. It's typically off limits, but when this temple was being used, the water level would rise up. It's insane, dude. It's an insane, groundwater worshipping Brotherhood of the Serpent Temple. But here we have that flower of life, right? Cymatics. Talking about sound. The Osirion's incredible. Absolutely incredible. the Valley Temple, I think it's called. Once again, perfect granite blocks. Look at the size of these sandstone blocks out here. And look at the erosion. These are massive, hundreds of tons. And the sandstone blocks protect and insulate this granite temple on the inside. This is no joke. This is unexplainable ancient mysteries, but I think we've found the right direction here. Solomon and his 72 friends. Where else can we go? Easter Island. I think this was in the 80s or 90s. They don't do it every often, like I said, because this is religious to them, but look at this. They're full. They're full bodies, all of them. There are 908 moai. Not all of them are huge, but many of them are megalithic. I think there's over 900 on this tiny island. The quarry where the stone was taken from is now underwater. I don't think they were buried. I think the consensus is now that they were, by some turbulent force, buried by nature, not by man. Here's a back shot. Incredible, right? Very interesting. The legends about Rapa Nui or Easter Island are pretty insane. Let's see. Easter Island moai in situ. The largest one, just like in Egypt and all over the world, is still in the quarry. I don't know if it'll come up. Oh yeah, there it is. There's many still in the quarry. I don't know if this is the biggest one, but the biggest guy is still in the quarry. Stopped in their tracks, just like in Egypt, just like in Baalbek. Remember how when Solomon died, everything went to chaos. You ever heard of the Bronze Age collapse? That was around that time, after the reign of Solomon, the Bronze Age collapse, where all of society collapsed. Google it. Bronze Age collapse. Interesting. What else we got? I mean, we could look at megalithics all day. It's all over the place. Petra in Jordan. Oh my god, dude, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. Bonkers, dude. Bronze Age people didn't do that. People in robes with sandals and copper chisels. Absolutely not. Crazy. And there's definitely a relation to it with Freemasonry, of course, right? Megaliths and Masonry. And I think that pretty much sums it up, dude. So now you know the meaning of Robin Hood, the Little Mermaid, unicorn. You know where those all come from now. Now you know that clearly what's being discussed in this book is some lost, ancient, evil, demonic, high technology. Absolutely nuts. Masonic Bible didn't mention anything about it, of course. But yeah, that's the Lesser Key of Solomon. Goetia, the Book of Evil Spirits. That was gross. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one.
Soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force, you are about to embark upon the great crusade toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. In company with our brave allies and brothers in arms on other fronts, you will bring about the destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of Nazi tyranny over the oppressed peoples of Europe, and security for ourselves in a free world. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well-trained, well-equipped, and battle-hardened. He will fight savagely. But this is the year 1944. Much has happened since the Nazi triumphs of 1940-41. The United Nations have inflicted upon the Germans great defeats in open battle, man to man. Our air offensive has seriously reduced their strength in the air and their capacity to wage war on the ground. Our home fronts have given us an overwhelming superiority in weapons and munitions of war, and placed at our disposal great reserves of trained fighting men. The tide has turned. The free men of the world are marching together to victory. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. we will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck, and let us all beseech the blessing of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking.